Gyros is a Mexican coming-of-age drama film written and directed by Alessandro Rapacios in 2014. It is the director's feature film debut and has received critical acclaim for its distinctive style and exploration of contemporary Mexico. The film Gyro represents the coming-of-age youth faced with an extreme socio-political state, like the 1999 student strike. The cinematography and sound of the film just adds to the depth of the sensorial nature of this film. Now, let's get into the audio work and the specific sequence right here. The headphones and gyros serve as a powerful symbol of escapism. When the characters wear them, they deliberately shut the world out around them, choosing to instead immerse themselves in a private, curated audio experience. This action can be seen as a metaphor for the desire to flee from the pressures, responsibilities, and disillusionment they face in their lives. Take, for instance, Sombra, one of the film's key characters. His frustration with adulthood, his sense of confusion, and his general disconnect with the world around him leads him to seek refuge in music. Whenever he wears the headphones, it's as though he's attempting to disconnect from the realities he finds overwhelming, using the music not just as entertainment, but also as a form of emotional isolation. The theme of avoiding reality is not just limited to Sombra. It is something that resonates throughout the entire film, particularly among the youth characters who are in the midst of their own coming-of-age processes. Much like how sound functions as a metaphor throughout the film, the car also functions as a metaphor for the characters' physical and emotional journey. At the core of Gyros is the idea of the road trip, not just across Mexico City, but also the process of growing up and self-discovery. The car, therefore, symbolizes a transitional space between childhood and adulthood, between different stages of emotional growth. The characters are in motion, much like their evolving sense of self and the world around them. Let's take a look at what the director has to say about the road trip idea.
The place where I feel most at home in Mexico City is in my car. And I think many Mexicans feel that way. So that's why it had to take place in a car, you know. It was that's sort of their home.
The camera often stays with the characters, letting their emotions and actions unfold in real time. This technique emphasizes the naturalistic feel of the film, encouraging viewers to engage with the characters' emotions and relationships in a more personal, unfiltered way. Many scenes take place in a small, confined space like a cramped car or empty rooms, emphasizing the limited, often suffocating emotional space that Tomas and Sombra find themselves in. The lack of decoration or clutter in these spaces gives the viewer a sense of emptiness or alienation. But another creative choice that the director chose was to shoot in black and white, and the director is not only paying a homage to the tradition of classic cinema, but also strategically using this aesthetic to deepen the emotional and thematic layers of the film. Black and white cinematography has been associated with films that delve into complex, nuanced storytelling. It strips away the visual distractions of color, allowing for a more direct, focused engagement with the characters and their internal struggles. This visual choice adds an extra dimension of rawness and intimacy to the film, enabling the audience to connect more intimately with the characters' emotions and experiences. The simplicity of the visual style invites the viewer to focus on a more nuance of the characters' relationships, their expressions, and their subtle gestures, rather than on the vibrant, often overwhelming visual cues that color might provide. But let's take a look at why the director actually chose to film in black and white.
It is a film about contrast. It's a film about social and economic contrast and political contrast. And Mexico is a place of huge contrasts. So black and white is the perfect photography for contrast, for high contrast, you know. And also, I wanted it to be timeless, in like to be not time specific, to get it out of the. So you watch it and you don't know if it's the strike of '99 or if it's happening now.
The 1999 student strike was the university's administrative decision to implement a tuition fee for the first time in the National Autonomous University of Mexico's history, after decades of being tuition-free. The fee, although small by international standards, was seen as a symbolic move towards the privatization of higher education, which many students, faculty, and activists viewed as a threat to the principle of free public education. Giro shows a reflection of the tension between action and passivity relating to the student strike. Throughout the film, Tomas and Sombra are often passive in their approach to life. Tomas, a teenager, is trying to figure out his place in the world and is somewhat lost in his thoughts and daydreams, while Sombra has become apathetic and detached, especially from the idea of having a quote-unquote normal job or following societal expectations. The student strike, in contrast, is an active form of resistance. The characters are, in a sense, spectators of the strike rather than participants, which underscores their feelings of detachment. Their inability to engage with the larger social movements or their own personal struggles parallels with the idea of feeling disconnected from the world around them, much like the apathetic or passive students activists who are no longer hopeful about the system they are fighting against.